Right everyone, I'm back. This is the first montage of footage I've got of the van. Unfortunately it's all in photographs, so this is how it started. Bare white Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van, small wheelbase. Again, nothing special about it, standard van. The odd rust scab here and there, as you can see. And so yeah, this is before I decided to pick the GoPro up and shoot some POV footage of what I'm doing, how I'm doing it and why I'm doing it. So yeah, this is just photographs for now. This one will only be a photograph video of just everything I've done up to now, of me shooting everything on POV, so you can still see before and afters, and it is just as nice. So the first thing I did with the van, got it to work, got it up on axle stands, got underneath it with the steam cleaner, went to work, steam cleaning the underneath of it, taking the wheel arch liners out, getting it all clean in there, seeing how much rot I've got, seeing what I have got, what I've not got. And it wasn't that bad underneath, to be brutally honest. You know, there was a bit of scale and scabbing here and there, a bit of rot, but for a Sprinter it wasn't that bad. So yeah, as you can see, that is immaculate now. After I've pressure washed it, spent a couple of hours under there, getting it mint, seeing what I've got. Because yeah, I plan on re-undersealing the underbody of this van, painting it. Yeah, it's full hit. We're not really cutting corners, we're not scrimping and scraping. We want to do as much of it as we can, get as much of that rust out as we can, only because we can do it. You know, we're set up to do that, so we're going to do it. Not everyone has the luxury of being able to set up to get rust out of these things, because they're not the easiest to access. You know, you've got to strip a lot of them off. Fortunately for me, there was no wooden cladding in my van. I ripped all that out ages ago because it was starting to get very condensated from the inside out. So yeah, rot behind the sliding door rail, that's nasty. That you get that on every Sprinter, they just go really bad behind there. Again, you can see how bad my floor is, absolutely rotten. Them Sprinters as well, that's on the inside of the van, that's where the mouldings go alongside there, so you can see where them plastic mouldings go. That is where them Sprinters rot. They're phenomenal for rotting behind there. The water gets in behind the moulding, goes inside the clip hole, and the water creeps inside the van, and it just rots from the van's inside out. So yeah, it's not a great design by Mercedes, that, I must admit. Every Sprinter we have in, I see that on every one of them. As soon as you take the mouldings off, that's when you know how hellish it is. Because you don't know what's behind it until you take them mouldings off, or until you start digging sealer off underneath there. Like, these are all my wheel arches, and I've started ripping all the sealer off to see how bad it is. A lot of that body sealer was starting to lift and starting to peel back, and I'm thinking, that's not a great sign. So we started digging into that, getting all that removed. Again, just stripping the van down. I'm not taking all the panels off just yet, because this is the very start of the project. Again, removing them outer arches. They rot in behind there pretty bad. I'm just going to replace them. They're like £30 a side, so I'm not going to spend time cleaning the rust out of them. I'm just going to get brand new ones. You can see how bad it is, that floor. It's so bad. So yeah, we plan on getting all that sandblasted out. But yeah, we're just trying to get as much of the van stripped here as I can to see what I've got on the shell, because I want to start with the shell first. I'm trying to keep the van built as much as I can. That's the rear brake panel there. You can see how rotten that is. That is just, the brake light was holding that panel together. Not great. So yeah, we got a new one of them ordered, and the panel beater welded one of them in for me very kindly, so that was nice of him. I can't take credit for welding that panel in. So he did that for me, which was great. So big thank you to him. So yeah, these, again, stripping these are pretty basic. There's nothing too special about them. Stripped a lot worse vehicles, a lot more complicated. So I want as much access to my chassis legs as I can without taking the engine out. Ideally, I would like to take the engine out at some point when I've got a bit more money, again, and then paint it to the exterior body colour of the van. But yeah, we'll see further down the line. So that's just me covering up the cab there so I can sandblast the inside of my steps, and then I'll get my door cards all covered and stuff. Just that sticky plastic, you can just stick it straight over it, tape it around it, stops the dust going in, mega for that job. Again, this is all inside the wheel arches, just been stripping the sealer off with wire wheels, crud fugs, any air tools we have to strip that sealer off. Them multi-tools are really good for stripping sealer off, actually. I've seen a lot of boys using them, and I tried it, and it actually works mint for stripping sealer off. Because sealer's one of them, it just laughs at your tools, like, it just, because it's a rubbery coating, like, it won't come off easily. It's not designed to come off easily. So yeah, them shock absorbers, they're getting ripped off soon. We've got brand new ones of them on order. I'll paint them when they come. Paint them in some durable paint, not the crappy stuff they paint them from factory in. Again, this is the van just set up for sandblasting. Get all that rot sandblasted around it. See how clean it is. We'll clean some metal up around it so we can have something clean to weld to when we're at that point. But for now, this is the earliest stage. So this is getting filmed. Well, all these photographs, were taken back in August. So that's when I started this. And I'm only just getting around to doing the audio to it all now, because this is like 400 and something photographs I've got of the project. So yeah, it hasn't been the most exciting thing for me to sit and do individual photographs and make sure they're in the order I want them. Some of them still aren't in the order I want them to be, but I'm just not very good at editing yet, so we'll just have to sort of lump it and just go with it. So yeah, that's the inside of my floor after I've sandblasted it. You can see how clean the metal comes up when you've done that. It just takes it all out. Like, if you want rust out, sandblasting is the best way to get rust out. Don't care what anyone else says, that is the best way. It gets it all out. It's so good. You can warp the metal and stuff, but you just got to be careful where you're blasting and what you're blasting. But I'm not too bothered about any of the stuff I'm doing there. It's all pretty strong, sturdy stuff, and it's all covered. You know, I'm doing it at low pressure, not doing it at high pressure, because that's when your metal gets destroyed. So you can see the floor there now, how clean that's come up. That's come up absolutely mint. So again, showing any clean metal, any rot, any soft rotten holes that the sandblaster will push through, poke holes in. Again, I even went underneath and blasted some of my cross members, because again, they weren't looking too healthy. Stripped some sealer off around the joins there. Again, this is the passenger side of the van. You can see how bad it was down there. Again, inside, proof of behind the mouldings. That's why I've gone along every spot hole and blasted it with the sandblaster, because mine was rotten from the inside. Again, every Sprinter starts on the inside and works its way out, so that's why I've started painting mine from the inside out, because they rot from the inside out. They actually do. It's no lie. See it with many Sprinters. They just rot from the inside out. So if you have one and you want advice on how to do one, start on the inside, work your way out. If you're not in that position to do that, then yeah, that's unfortunate. But yeah, that is the best advice I can give to anyone looking at getting one of these vans and thinking, oh, I don't want it to rust that bad. That's the only way you're going to stop it. Start from the inside and work your way out. So yeah, this is me now. This is on Sunday, this. I'm just getting this all prepped up for epoxy primer. People are going to be sick of hearing that word soon. That's all I'm talking about at the minute is epoxy primer, is this. But yeah, them wheel arches, they were really bad. The skin in there, they were so rotten. So yeah, we had some hellish work cut out for us for myself on this one. It wasn't the most pleasant of things to do the underneath, but I don't mind doing that sort of stuff. I just like getting stuck into it. It keeps me busy and I enjoy it. If I didn't enjoy it, I definitely wouldn't be doing it. I'll tell you that, because it's not. When you're not enjoying it, it's not a fun job to do. But when you enjoy it, it's mint. That's like everything though. But yeah, just this was getting everything masked, covered, because yeah, you don't want any overspray going in the cab, landing on your dash, landing on any of your seats, any of that stuff, because you'll never get it off. Overspray is one of them things, it's just a nightmare to get off. So yeah, I don't mind about the exterior of the van, because we're going to be sanding that all down. I don't care what goes on that. We just don't want it on the door cards or the steering wheel or any of that. So yeah, you've always got to make sure your cab entrances are masked if you got your doors open and you're spraying. So yeah, that's the back now, all on epoxy. So yeah, just get that on there so it gives me time to start cutting and welding any metal, any rot out. You know, what metal's epoxy primed will not rust. You know, not saying it won't rust forever, but it has such good, anti-corrosion properties in it. So it's just, yeah, for your projects, it is the one to be using. So yeah, this is interesting now. This is when I decided to take the bulkhead out and the seats out. You can see how disgusting it is in behind there, because again, you can't get to that part of the van when the bulkhead and the seats are in. You can't get to it to clean it. So yeah, it was pretty disgusting in behind there, I must admit, but at least it won't be when it goes back together. So yeah, I've decided to take the seats out and the seat bases, because we're going to paint them first, and we're going to paint the floor of the cab of the van, and then we're going to go from the inside out. So that is the reasons why we're going to this extent, because when you open the doors up on a Mercedes Sprinter van, you see the seat bases. So the seat bases will be painted the body colour of the van. So obviously mine are painted white because the van come out the factory in Arctic white. So yeah, that's why we're doing that. Anyone that doesn't know, that's the reason for that. So yeah, this is my driver's seat there, all the electrics, fuses and stuff under there. Just, it's all nonsense to me that I don't need into any of that. So yeah, we're just gonna have to get a load of photos, videos, how all that lives, and put that back how it was. So yeah, there's my seat bases all loosened off now. All the wires, all the rubbish that goes underneath your seat bases in a Sprinter, really. Yeah, you can see how scabby that seat base is. Just wasn't the nicest. Again, I like going that extra mile. Some people would have happily left them in, but I'm that way. I'm so fussy. For people that do know me, know how fussy I am. And I don't care how much time I've got to put into something to make it that extra bit, unbelievably, good. I'm just that way. I just like to be that way. So yeah, we give these a wet on wet, and it was pretty exciting because this was the first thing I painted for the van. And once I picked the colour, it was like, right, we're going with it. This is it. Because once you start mixing that colour up and start painting stuff, you don't want to be painting it the second time. So yeah, you can really see it there. That's how it's going to look in the sunlight. Again, this is how it's going to look in the shade on a dark day. But yeah, I had the daylight on it there, which mimics your sunlight. And again, that's what you take in your booth to check your colour. Check you're covered, check you're happy with your colour. Again, they're a great bit of kit, them. So yeah, that's all the cab, all masked out, ready to go. So again, covering all the dash, covering everything in there that I wanted covered. I did my absolute best to cover everything there. That was about an hour and 45 minutes for me to mask that. But you've got to think, I'm doing that every day. To someone, they think that's a long time, but it's not actually a long time when you look at how much I've covered and had to cover. There's a lot. I've gone in and done all the pedals. I've gone in around the suspension top mounts. There's a lot I've had to mask up there. And yeah, for people that know, they appreciate that, because that's not a fun job by any means, trying to lie down and do all that inside the van. So yeah, this is an inside step now. I ended up ripping all the sealer out of them because that sealer wasn't doing much. It was all loose, it was scaly, it was just peeling back. So I put fresh beads of sealer all in round. So no moisture can, rot the insides of them panels anymore where the overlays are and the welds. So that's my biggest worry in them steps, because they just love to rot. Again, all my nice fresh sealer lines in over my epoxy wet on wet. So yeah, once I get that down, I get a coat of spray sealer down over everything. So spray sealer is what is on the underside of your car or van body. Really hard to remove once it's on and it's set. So yeah, that's a worth one we use. That's a great product, that. But yeah, get all that spray sealed, nice and durable. Not all this is covered anyway, but it's just, I've done this more so because I can, and it will make it last a lot longer. You don't need to go to this extent, but it will make the van last a lot longer, and it will be more, rust proofed over a longer period. I've taken all my drain hole plugs out inside and I've bonded them back in, so they can't, water can't get up in or can't get through them, which is good in my head, because what's the point in having them in there if they're not sealed anyway? So I've sealed them back in. So yeah, there we are, the colour on now. So you don't actually see any of that. You probably see a small strip of it when all the steps and the mats are back in, of where the seat base is actually fixed to. But yeah, apart from that, you don't see a great deal of it. So yeah, that's the driver's seat base all back in. Nice little video of that. Just got that on my phone. Again, this was before all the POV was even thought about, to be honest. I just wasn't a fan of it. Didn't really know anything about editing software, so I just didn't really bother. And then people kept saying, oh, you should do that, you should do that. So yeah, here we are, peer pressured into it. But yeah, how much tricker does that look? That is just insane. So yeah, there's a rusty washer around that bolt. You can see there, he is going to get taken out. Put some clean washers in. All them bolts have been freshly greased, straight back in. Yeah, now you can see if it's all unmasked. You can see the extent I've gone to with all my masking there. And yeah, just opening the passenger door up. Look at that. That is some colour. Yeah, that is going to be exciting. So yeah, I've done the floor black because again the floor's going to be covered. It's going to be all covered, so the floor in the back doesn't matter. But yeah, just that purple, yeah, that is really nice. So yeah, I've done this a bit backwards. So you've just seen all the floor inside finished, and these are rot holes on the inside of the wheel arches. So yeah, this is inside the wheel arches. So on both rear wheel arches, in both the exact same spots, I had 2 or 4 big holes, 2 on either wheel arch. So yeah, the boys that have had the van before me have obviously been screwing ply line wooden wheel arches in through the wheel arches, and yeah, they just rot them from the inside out, or the outside in really, because obviously it's all the spray off your tyres when it's raining, you know, going up and rotting from spraying all the water in, basically, and you've got timber screws going through holding wood in, and that's how it happens. But yeah, there's some bad rot on the inside of this van on the floor, so yeah, that's just, I cleaned all that up where the rear cross member goes underneath the floor there. We got that cleaned up before we welded that in, but they were just some templates I made up out of galvanized plate. Again, more plate to go in over them holes because the metal was very thin in them rear arches, as you can see. It's rotting away pretty bad, so just putting some strengthening plates in, and then when we get to the underneath of the van, we're going to get a lot more under sealer and seam sealer brushed in and get it protected up nice and well. But yeah, that's that panel. I'm just getting the sealer cleaned up around that, ready for that to be ripped out. Again, that's some strengthening plates welded in over the cross member. Yeah, that floor was not in a good way. So yeah, that's the rear panel out now, the rear top brake panel. You can see how rotten that is. So that should be a nice square hole for the top rear light to sit in. That's how bad that was. So yeah, again, you can see how bad these vans rot. It's not great at all. I don't know how Mercedes get away with it. I really don't. But yeah, that's that nice new panel all welded in. So I'm just in the booth on the weekend and getting that all prepped up, getting primer on. Again, the floor's all welded now, getting the seal around it shortly, because that's all going to get coated up with spray sealer. So yeah, that's just etch primer there, and we're going to get some seam sealer on now. So yeah, black beads of sealer going in. Again, that's what all that is. That's all seam sealer going around any of the panel overlaps and seams and joins, keeping that rust out, keeping the water going in between the seams and rotting the seams. So that's the reason for your seam sealer. That's what it does. It seals your seams, keeps them watertight, stops water getting in between them. Again, that's primer on now, and we're going to get some spray sealer on after this, I think, because we had some grey, and then we had the black spray sealer, and I finished it in a top coat of a black paint. I just used the grey up because there was an open tin there. I wanted to get it used. Again, that's the crash bar that goes on the chassis at the front. And that's my spare wheel holder that fits to the underside of the van again. We did that. We took that off. We got that painted up. We've got the brackets to do for that there in the van, actually. I've not done them yet. I need to do them. But yeah, this looks so nice for me now, remembering how rusty that floor was, you know, at the start of the video, as you see in the photographs, really. It was so scabby. It wasn't a nice inside of the van. Again, all the inside's going to be cladded out, kitted out, all lined. You know, you're not going to see any paint or anything. It's all going to be covered. And yeah, it's going to look nice when it's done. But yeah, just getting it done is the main thing at the minute. Getting time. Not feeling too motivated at the minute, if I'm honest. But we're getting there. We are getting there. It's just it's hard at it every Saturday, Sunday, every night pretty much. It's not an easy one to tackle, but we'll get there. We will get it done. Maybe get a life back. But yeah, we're going to keep doing this content of other stuff, of nice cars we paint from 8:30 till 5 and other vehicles. So I will start getting some of that. So yeah, this is me knocking some plates up. So I wasn't happy with that. I made a new one for that. The gap was a bit wide, so we were welding some plates in there. Again, playing with the welder. I'm not an experienced welder by any means, but again, best way to do it is by picking it up and learning it. So yeah, just got some body filler in almost any pitting in the metal there. That's what you see in that blue stuff on the sides. Big rot hole on the passenger side sill there. Again, drain hole there that's obviously blocked up, filled with water, and it's rotted the sill from the inside out. Them exterior arches again, they're going in the metal skip. So there's a heat shield for my exhaust underneath. That's a before. That's the before. The other one was the after. So yeah, I got them a bit mixed up there. But yeah, just clean them up because we got all of the underneath of the van done here. more strengthening plates welded into the cross members underneath. Any seam sealer pushed in, we got primer on, we got it painted, we got fresh spray sealer put on the underneath. Yeah, we went to town on the underneath. But again, I would like to take, again, this is down to mechanics, this isn't down to me. At some point when I'm more flush with money, get the running gear out the van, get the engine out the van and do that properly. I've just painted it for now with a rust, it's a paint over rust coating, like it's actually designed to paint over rust. It's made in America, you can only buy it from one supplier in the UK because of the health and safety, shall we say, involved in that product. It's not something that EU laws comply with just because of what's in it, but it's so durable and it's so good. That's why it's, you know, so bad for people and the environment. So yeah, that's what I used on the underneath of my van. It's expensive stuff, but again, I don't mind paying if it's going to last, and it's designed for a purpose. You know, it's designed for marine, you know, corrosive, salty environments. So that's why I've gone with that, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, that's the reasons for that. So yeah, all coated up now, nice and black. You know, was white, now it's black. Just looks better black. Everything looks better in black. White underneath the vehicles don't look great. So yeah, again, I'd love to get all that subframe and stuff dropped out next year, get that all sandblasted, get all the bushings replaced and everything, paint it all up properly, get it all back in, paint all the engine bay. That would be the ideal thing to finish the van off. But again, we're a bit off that yet. But yeah, that's going to be next year's target, possibly. But again, all money dependent, and if I can be bothered doing it next year, I might still be sick of working on weekends and nights. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, not wasting any time and expense and masking it all up, making sure all the important stuff's covered, all your discs, all your calipers, any stuff you want covered, cover it, you know, your exhaust, you don't want anything on that, or your manifold, all your wires. It just looks so much nicer when you go to demask it and you start demasking it all and you've got everything clean and crisp and it just looks professional. You know, that's where you know what you're doing goes into it. So yeah, all the underneath coated up there, real nice. Again, that's going to last so much longer now under there. After the whole of the van is painted, I am going to get it back on the ramp and put an additional coating on the underside of the van. So yeah, I'll get into that a bit later on. That's basically going to go inside all the chassis leg holes and stuff. It's designed to stay flexible and elasticated, shall we say. But yeah, you can see how nice that is now. Everything's all demasked under there. Diesel tank, all the exhaust, you know, the heat shields with cleaning them with aluminium cleaner. They just look mint. Yeah, all the rear axle there, all painted up. Everything's just looking mega. But yeah, we'll get them shock absorbers painted up and we'll get them fitted. We'll get some footage of that. So we'll be back on POV footage for that. So yeah. Again, this is how this project started, just on photographs. I wasn't keen on throwing the GoPro on and doing all this because I didn't really know how to edit or anything. So I've just kind of forced myself how to learn it and just said, yeah, you're getting on with it. Because people have been asking for it, so it's, you know, it's obviously stuff people want. So yeah, you can see some rot holes there. Again, we got that cut out and welded up. Again, we've got photos and video. I don't think we have any videos of that. No, we don't. We've got some photos of that. But again, this is stuff people have seen recently in videos. But again, we're still carrying on with photographs because it is good to have them. And it's just good to see them as well. So yeah, that's that patch I've welded in there, plate again. That's just in behind a molding. Plastic trim, shall we say. Again, more epoxy on the quarter panel, so that was the first milestone. When I started getting that stuff on, it was like, right, game on. You feel like you know what you're getting in for then. Again, rust scabs, that's how they start, all them spider legs. You can just see them. That was a previous exterior repair someone had done on the van, so again, I started digging that out and was like, what is this? So again, it started rotting in from that corner. So we started cleaning all that up, getting that clean metal, fresh skimming it, and yeah, get it all blocked down, get it ready for primer. So yeah, this is the most recent stuff people have actually seen, but they've only seen footage. They've not seen these photos, I don't think. So yeah. Again, I chose to dig all my seam sealer out of all them seams that run up the sides of the van from the sill to the roof gutter. because they hold the rust so bad in there, and mine were actually mint. They were clean, so I was quite happy with that. Apart from one bottom one, actually, that was starting to go a little bit, but for one I don't mind. But yeah, usually they're really bad in them seams, so I chose to dig all my sealer out. Again, I chose to take all the paint off because the van looked too clean to be true, so that's why I've gone to this extent. You know, stripped the paint down to factory etch primer pretty much, and a little bit of the first coat of white you could see. So that's how far we're going with this respray. We're going full hit. We don't want to see any rust on this for a long time, so it'll be good when it's done, but it's just getting there. So yeah, this is all me taking the doors off. Obviously you've seen all that hopefully in the other videos. Again, getting into the welding side. I'm probably not going to get much POV footage of welding because the flash from the welder does not do your camera any good, or your GoPros, so I don't want to be damaging any cameras, to be brutally honest. So yeah, I'll just get photos for that stage. I don't mind taking GoPros in the booth and, you know, getting them covered in overspray because I can wipe overspray off. I don't mind that, but, you know, I don't want molten metal flicking up and, you know, burning a lens on a camera. That just does not sound good to me. So yeah, we won't get any POV footage of that. But yeah, here you can see how clean I got that roof. Yeah, this took a long time. I was at that roof all Sunday, getting that rust ground out, getting all the grinding marks feathered back, sanded back as smooth as I can get them, you know, going through all the grades, 80, 180, 320. That is just how you've got to get everything so nice when you've been grinding rust out. You know, you can't leave grinding marks in because you'll just see them and they look horrendous. So yeah, sliding door there on a trestle, ready to strip. Again, that is already up, everyone's seeing that, but again, these photos are just part of this build. It's another part of it, all the photographs. So yeah, everyone can see what I've been at, how busy I've been. Again, we'll keep getting this content out, but I just want to say thanks for everyone for watching, and yeah, if you want to give us a subscribe and like, that would be mint. So thank you everyone again.